They showed me our future, and what I saw will haunt me forever. It all began on a night that felt strangely different from the others, a night heavy with silence, where even the crickets seemed reluctant to sing. I had driven far outside the city into the barren countryside, chasing nothing more than peace. My life had become suffocating, and solitude felt like the only cure. But as I parked my car near an abandoned stretch of land, I felt something in the air, a vibration like the hum of an invisible engine beneath reality itself. At first I told myself it was exhaustion playing tricks, yet deep down I knew this. Night would not be ordinary. The sky above stretched vast and endless, stars scattered like broken glass across black velvet. Then without warning, one of those stars moved, slowly at first, then with terrifying speed. It wasn't a shooting star. It hovered, watching, as though it had noticed me. My breath grew shallow. An instinct told me to leave, but my body refused to obey. That's when the light descended, blinding and absolute, swallowing the fields around me in a sterile glow that erased every shadow. My mind screamed to run, yet my legs were rooted in place as if unseen hands had pinned me to the ground. The light carried weight, pressing against my chest until breathing became impossible. I felt myself being pulled upward, my body tearing away from gravity's grip. The car below shrank. The land dissolved into darkness, and soon I was swallowed by the light itself. For a moment, I thought I was dying. But what waited inside was far worse than death. The chamber was impossibly vast, its walls glowing with a cold silver light that seemed alive, pulsating as though the structure itself was breathing. I wasn't standing on solid ground. There was no ground at all. Instead, I floated, suspended, as figures emerged from the haze. They were tall, impossibly thin, with elongated skulls and eyes so black they reflected nothing. Their faces were voids of expression, yet their presence screamed intelligence far beyond anything human. They did not speak with words. Instead, their thoughts crashed into my mind like waves, each one colder than the last. You are here to witness. The words weren't heard but felt, etched into the fabric of my consciousness. Before I could question them, the walls of the chamber dissolved into visions. I saw Earth, our world, spinning peacefully against the void. But then the image fractured, splitting into two diverging paths, two possible futures. In the first, fire consumed cities. Skyscrapers fell like sandcastles, oceans boiled, and the air was thick with ash. I saw people running, screaming, tearing at each other in desperation. Technology turned against us. Machines slaughtered their creators, and nuclear fire scorched the horizon. The planet cracked like glass under too much pressure, and all life was erased in silence. My chest ached with despair as the vision lingered, too real to dismiss as fantasy. Then the scene shifted. The second future unfolded, one of breathtaking beauty. Humanity had survived, had learned, had evolved. I saw cities floating above oceans, glowing towers powered by forces I could not name. People walked freely beneath radiant skies, united, their faces free from the burden of fear. Knowledge flowed like water, and peace wasn't a dream, but reality. Earth thrived, green and alive, no scars of war or greed. It was paradise. But not one we had earned yet. The voice inside my head returned, colder now. The choice is yours. The time is short. My body trembled as I was hurled deeper into their vision. I wanted to look away, but the images burned themselves into me, etching scars across my soul. These beings weren't showing me possibilities. They were showing me consequences. And the terrifying truth was that the darker future felt closer, more inevitable, as though humanity had already stepped too far down that path. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but my voice dissolved in the weight of their presence. One of the beings moved closer, its massive black eyes filling my vision. In them, I saw endless lifetimes, galaxies swallowed by time, and civilizations erased in silence. I was nothing to them, a flicker, a breath, yet somehow I mattered. Enough to be shown this truth. You will tell them. The command sliced through my thoughts. Tell who? Tell what? Humanity? My voice shook inside my mind as I tried to form words, but before I could, another surge of light consumed me. My body felt as though it was unraveling, every atom torn apart and stitched back together. Pain lanced through me, yet behind it was something worse. Clarity. I understood what they demanded. I was no longer just an observer. I was their messenger. When the light released me, I collapsed on the cold earth beside my car. Hours had passed, though to me it felt like seconds. My phone was dead, the clock frozen. The night was eerily silent, as though the world itself held its breath. I staggered into the driver's seat, hands trembling, the vision seared into my brain. My reflection in the rearview mirror startled me. My eyes, they weren't the same. A faint silver shimmer lingered in them, glowing softly in the dark. The drive back felt endless. Every passing light on the highway twisted into echoes of the visions I had seen. Burning cities, fractured skies, humanity screaming into the void. My chest tightened with every mile, torn between disbelief and terror. Could any of it be real? Or had my mind fractured under the weight of loneliness? But the shimmer in my eyes whispered otherwise. By the time I reached the city, dawn was breaking. Yet nothing felt the same. Every person I passed on the street felt like a fragile piece of a puzzle already doomed to shatter. I wanted to scream at them, to tell them what was coming, but the words stuck in my throat. Who would believe me? I barely believed myself. That night was the beginning of everything, and it was only part of what they showed me. What came after was worse. I tried to forget. For days I shut myself away, convincing myself it had been nothing but a hallucination, a trick of exhaustion and stress. But the dreams wouldn't stop. Every night I was dragged back into their chamber of light, forced to relive the futures they had shown me. My body ached each morning as though the visions had clawed at my flesh, leaving me weaker with every sunrise. Sleep became torment. Waking life became paranoia, and I knew deep down that my connection to them hadn't been broken. It began small, flickers in my vision, shadows moving against walls where no shadows should exist. Electronics faltered. When I walked into a room, screens filling with static, phones dying without reason. But then it grew worse. I started seeing them in mirrors. Not fully, not directly, but faint outlines behind me, watching. Their eyes, black and infinite, reflecting truths I didn't want to know. My screams never reached anyone else's ears. To the world, I was alone. The messages grew stronger. Not spoken, but branded into my mind with unbearable clarity. Warn them. Time is running out. The phrase repeated endlessly, driving me to madness. I scribbled notes across my walls, diagrams of futures I barely understood, words and languages I should never have known. My apartment became a shrine to insanity, or maybe prophecy. I couldn't tell anymore. And then came the second encounter. It was past midnight when the hum returned, the same low vibration that had stolen me away the first time. My chest tightened as the air grew heavy, pressing against me like unseen hands. Light poured through the cracks of my windows, burning brighter than the sun, and before I could run, it was inside, flooding my home, swallowing me whole. My body lifted, weightless, as the chamber returned. But this time, it was different. The walls no longer glowed with sterile silver. They pulsed red, alive with an energy that reeked of dread. The figures emerged again, but their presence was heavier, suffocating, as though they no longer viewed me as a witness, but as something else entirely. One of them stepped forward, its skeletal hand stretching out, a finger hovering inches from my forehead. The moment it touched me, my world dissolved. I saw cities, not of the future, but of now. Our cities, our people. And above them, hidden in the clouds, were ships. Hundreds, maybe thousands, watching, waiting. They were already here. My stomach dropped as the truth anchored itself inside me. The warnings weren't about a distant future. They were about an invasion already unfolding, quietly, silently, as humanity looked the other way. They will not see us until it is too late. The voice clawed into my skull, cold and absolute. I begged to know why me, why show me any of this. But the answer was worse than silence, because you will not be believed. The vision cracked apart, hurling me back into my body. I collapsed on the chamber floor, gasping, trembling, my skin burning with a fever that wasn't mine. The beings stood in silence, their eyes unblinking, until one final phrase seared itself into me. The choice is already made, and then I was back, alone, on my floor, my apartment bathed in darkness as though nothing had happened. But my body ached with scars that hadn't been there before. Thin, red lines stretched across my arms and chest, glowing faintly in the moonlight like fresh burns. I knew then that escape was impossible. They hadn't just shown me visions. They had marked me. Now, I see them everywhere. Reflections in glass, shadows in the corners of rooms, flickers in the night sky when no one else is looking. I know what waits for us, what future has already been chosen. And yet, I can say nothing. To speak would be madness, and madness ensures no one will listen, so I write. I whisper into the void, hoping someone, somewhere, will understand before it's too late, because they are not coming. They are already here.